What it do, snackers, snackettes, and snack X's? It's your boy Gage. I'm here with Jokes and Sin, and special guest Jonah Lobe is joining us. You are now tuned in to Loading Snacks Weekly, where we get together once a week and we talk about things that are happening in pop culture. And today, of course, we are joined by Jonah.
Thank you.
It is awesome to have
pleasure
you.
to be had. Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. We are definitely going to have a good time having some conversation with you about who you are and what you do and what you have upcoming. But first, you gotta say hello. Hi, Candace. Jokes.
Yes, sir.
You have a job to do. So Jokes will get our Beacons link up for everyone in the chat. That makes it easiest to go and follow us everywhere, including our Patreon. And speaking of our Patreon, Sin, you have a job to do.
Yes, so let's give a shout out to our top Patreon members, starting with Anthony Cunningham, Marcus Houston, Susan Dortch, Tyrone Carson, Meticulous Skin, Alex Lee, Ellis Mbe, and Kermit Ferguson. Thank you very much. We truly, truly appreciate it.
That, in fact, we do. Jokes, I'm going to give you a little more work to do.
Go for it.
Because Jonah is joining us, we have a couple of links for him. We have Jonah's link tree. So if you would please get that into the chat so people can go and follow Jonah there.
Thank you.
There is a link there, but we also are going to go ahead and post a direct link to pre-launch for Jonah's Kickstarter. That is upcoming for a little something he's got called Quiet Level 1, and I promise we're going to get to that for sure. So those are in the chat. If you later on we'll post them again for people who didn't get a chance to get it if they didn't jump in right away. What's up, Heather? How are you? Jonah.
Hello.
I have questions for you.
I hope I have answers.
You do. I'm positive you do. So look, you're here because you are an awesome artist, creative individual. We met at AwesomeCon earlier this year. We did a brief interview, had a bit of a conversation, and we've talked back and forth maybe a little since then. And so it is a pleasure to have you here with us so we can get to know you a bit better and introduce you more formally to our audience. But in doing so, I want to get to know you a little bit before we start getting into all of what you do. So one of the things I like to ask people when they come on this show is like, what is their pop culture poison? What is that thing in pop culture that like you have to have it. You can't live without it. It makes you weak. Is there a weakness for you? Is it a Star Wars, a Star Trek? Are you a fantasy guy? Is it comic books? What's your thing?
I would say that my thing is gaming, especially like I play lots of different kinds. It used to be that I would play a lot of like Counter-Strike, and then it was Team Fortress 2 and all that. But the line of the thing that I think maybe I love the most is like a really good fantasy game of some kind. Okay. And so, for instance, when I was in college, I played Baldur's Gate 2. So when Baldur's Gate 3 just came out, like last year, I lost myself for like a while.
Yeah.
And I have this like twisted thing with games where I'll be working, I have all this work to do, and then I'll be like, you know what? I just need a break. Let me just play a game for a couple hours. I'll find the game that I've been wanting to play. I'll install it. And then I'm pouring myself into it more and more. And what I find is that I trick myself consistently every single time into saying, you know what the best thing for you to do would be, Jonah, is if you would just play the whole game. And if you could just beat the whole game, then you can uninstall the game. It won't be a monkey on your back, and you could just go forward and get back to your work. And so I tell myself, you know what? It's in my own interest to sit down here and play the F out of this game until it's done all the way. And
no backlog.
It's a disaster every time.
Is it? I mean, I get that because games have been getting longer and longer.
Yes.
What's the first game you remember playing? What do you think is the thing that made you a gamer?
Oh, wow. That's a heck of a question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that before.
I specialize in asking things no one has ever asked before.
That's
I guess.
No, it's a really good one. I think I had some games like Prince of Persia and things like that.
Mhm.
Like my parents never got me a console, but my
Okay.
dad was a journalist, and so he had a computer back when not many people had computers, and
Yeah.
it was like the basic like green DOS font kind of like
Yeah.
thing. But I started getting some floppy disks of a couple of friends' games. Nothing big. And then one day I discovered Wolfenstein, or someone gave me Wolfenstein, and that turned me on
Mm.
halfway because I was like, all right, this is a wild game. This is like
Yeah.
so cool. Like this is, and then I remember, I think to answer your question, I remember being on a long conversation with my cousin who lived in South Dakota, and he was telling me
Yeah.
that the people who made Wolfenstein had made a game called Doom,
Mhm.
and I specifically remember like lying on my bedroom floor, like coloring or drawing or whatever on the phone with him, with the long cord pulled
Yeah.
up to
Yeah.
me,
Uh-huh.
and he was just feeding me information about this game Doom. Like there was demons and there was flaming skull heads, and you could walk upstairs. I was like, "What? You could walk upstairs?"
How
And
do
he's
you
like, "You
go
could
say
walk
exactly?
upstairs." And so I talked my parents. I don't know how I did this. I talked my mom into getting Doom, and we went to the store and they had Doom 2, and I was like, "Oh my god, Doom 2! What?"
Yep.
So I picked up
Now I'm
Doom
ahead of my
2.
cousin.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I felt like this is the best thing possible. And I came home and I installed the game and I could not run it because it
Uh,
required four
Oh
it required 4 megabytes of RAM and I had 2.
no!
Oh,
Why isn't this
Jesus.
uh-huh.
working? Flip the package
Mhm.
over.
Yep.
I didn't know what
Uh,
RAM was. I never heard of such a
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
Me neither. Hey, ma.
So, but that was it. But then eventually, my mom could tell how crushed I was, so she ordered
Mhm.
2 more megabytes of RAM, and we put it in the computer.
Oh,
And
Hey,
and
that's
from
Goes for a
then
perfect.
on,
win.
Yay, mom. Well, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
mom. She
Yay,
and this is
mom.
from a woman who never wanted me to play video games or violent video games, but just gave in this
and
one
just
time. And then look
Doom
at me now,
2.
Hey,
mom.
And
she
that's
went
it.
all in.
You're,
All
oh
in.
Yep.
man.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed, right?
And then
That
and then
that's
here I am today, having worked on
why.
games for 20 years.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell you that similarly, I think the game that got me hooked was Miss Pac-Man. And I'm gonna
Arcade.
blame my mother for that. Well, yeah, but then also I had it on the 2600, and my mom loved Miss Pac-Man, she's in the chat now, so we're just gonna go ahead and blame her for it.
Miss
You know,
Pac-Man. I think Miss Pac-Man is a great role model.
Thank moms.
100%, 100%. So is that? I mean, you brought up Doom, and your artwork, is fantasy. It's very much in that realm.
Mhm.
Were you already interested in that kind of stuff before you found or heard of Doom, or was Doom part of an introduction to that world for you?
I think I always liked fantasy. I was always a fan of fantasy. And I always had like an interest in horror.
Yeah.
I discovered Stephen King in like the third grade. Like because
Wow.
at the community library, they had
Yeah.
and so monsters in particular held a fascination for me. Werewolves, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then it was only when I discovered Doom that I was like, oh, this is like metal. Like I understand now.
Mhm.
Suddenly I
Mhm.
understand. Like I understand like how metal demons can be. And then at that
Yeah.
point, this was the '90s, so like also like grunge rock was coming in and all that stuff. And so
Yeah.
it all kind of like, and there's the Nine Inch Nails like soundtrack when Quake came out. Like
Mhm.
all these things like all hit at once, hit my like young teenage brain. So, but yeah, I would say Doom was kind of like the beginning of like the newer era. There was before Doom and after Doom, AD and
Yeah.
BD. Yeah.
Were you already interested in art? Were you
Yeah.
drawing? And okay, so has that always been a thing for you?
As far as I can remember, it's always
Okay.
been a thing. I think a lot of kids, I think most of us start off drawing and then most of us just quit. We tell ourselves at a certain point, like, maybe around like 7, 8, 9, we go, you know what, like I'm not as good as I want to be. And in fact, not doing as well as I want to be makes me want to stop.
Yeah.
And so you stop, but I just never, I think because I was that kid who was very daydreamy and would like to draw a lot, I think I got a lot of like probably positive reinforcement.
Sure.
Other people, and then a lot of people telling you like, oh, like that's Jonah. He's the kid who draws. And so it kind of becomes part of your identity a little bit, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And then I'm an only child. I'm like an extroverted introvert. So like I like to spend a lot of time by myself. And so it was a really good way for me to just put hours and hours of like time, like being, you know, when I'm alone, you know, like I was a latchkey kid, like when I was little. So like I would come home and it would just be like me in the house for like hours. So, and again, I didn't have like video games. And so I just poured a lot of effort into that. And so, yeah, it kind of was like never a question, you know, like just because of that, art was the direction I was going to take it. But it wasn't until I watched Jurassic Park, and then I found in the bookstore a book called The Making of Jurassic Park. And when I bought that book and I looked in the back and I saw that people were doing like animatics, they were doing concept art, they were doing storyboarding, they were doing puppets, and then they were doing this new thing called computer animation.
Right.
That's when I realized like, oh, you can actually earn a living like this, you know?
Yeah. And so at that point, was that the turning point for you? At that point, had you decided, okay, I'm actually going to pursue this as a career option? I'm going to go this direction in school and so forth?
Yeah, exactly. I decided I wanted to work for either movies, which seemed like the bigger, cooler thing, or games. And now remember, like I started this journey at a time when games were like cool, but they still weren't like really popping yet. But like it was happening, you know what I mean? And it was happening. And so by the time I finally came around, like to like after college, I'd been like I kind of just had decided at that point, if I want more exposure and more ownership of art, like I should go for games, you know?
Yeah.
They had one guy at my college got into Pixar. And so the professors were like, yo, when you graduate, like go talk to this guy. And so I was like, all right, cool, go talk to him. And I went to the Pixar campus and it was amazing. It was beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, this is like Valhalla for artists. Like this is amazing.
Yeah.
But then he showed me what he was doing, and he was working on a movie called Cars. And his whole job was to work on the tech that would allow water to bead on the metal realistically.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool, but that's not what you want to do, right? Yeah.
That's not for me. And so at that point, I knew that games were more the direction I was going to take it.
Did you go to an art school?
No,
for college?
I went to a more well-rounded college that had a lot of different classes. I knew I was going to do art. And so for me, actually, I wanted, like, because that was not even like in question, I was going to keep going forward with that. I was an art major, but I wanted to take a lot of other classes as well. Cause I just, I didn't want to be a well-rounded individual, you know?
Got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Was that a decision that you made going in, or was that something that kind of were your parents like, hey, the art thing's cool, but make sure you kind of have some of this other stuff to fall back on in case that doesn't work out? Was that some of what that was?
That's a good question. No, I honestly think I wanted to do it myself. It was for me. And, I had taken some art classes in school, but I just never felt like the rest of the class was as serious as I was and all that. So when I pictured like art school, I was kind of like, I don't know, man, like anywhere I go, I'm going to be practicing my art and getting better. But like, I don't know. Yeah, I think I always knew that I wanted to learn a lot of different things because art is important to me. Art is obviously like the thing that's gotten me here and all that. But like, I think world building and all that is a much greater calling, like kind of storytelling and world building and all the things involved with that. And I think that to do that, especially in fantasy, fantasy is a medium where you can tell any story you want, but that doesn't make those stories good,
Yeah. Right.
Like,
right.
There's a lot of fantasy is just like fluff. It doesn't like mean anything, but if you can come and build worlds from an informed perspective where you understand, gender dynamics, racial dynamics, religion, history, world history, tech, art, writing, philosophy. If you know all these different things, you can kind of just bring in more flavors, more ideas. Yeah.
And it makes that world feel more alive.
Absolutely.
Feels more realistic. I'm gonna ask you to do something terrible right now.
Uh-oh.
put one of these movies in the trash forever:
Okay.
Oh, this
Labyrinth or The Never-Ending Story.
Ooh,
I got to go with Labyrinth
right.
because
Okay.
I can't. You know what? I can't do that to that horse again.
Oh,
Yeah.
poor Artex.
Artex, I can't kill that horse twice. You know, I had to
Poor
watch.
Artex.
I mean, that moment in film, it blows my mind that they had like a 2.5 minute like crying farewell to a dying horse
Yep.
in a kids movie, and that horse drowned. You know
Oh
what I mean?
yeah.
Like
In the mud of all things.
in
Like
the
it's a
mud, like, and it and you know what? And it was in a really dark place when it did too. Like it was like
definitely
its soul had been taken over. That's heavy, you know. So
pretty terrible.
Doc.
you know, it doesn't
Okay.
have David Bowie, but you know,
No, it doesn't. There's no dance
Magic
magic dance. Right, sis?
Yeah.
No dance magic dance in that at all. All right, so here's what I want to do. I want to take a look at some of your work.
do it.
Let's talk about Quiet Level 1 because this
Love
is
to
your new baby, kind of. You
Sure
have
is.
a baby, but this is your art baby, if that's
Yes.
fair to say. Talk to me a little bit about Quiet Level 1 and what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. So I'll tell you really quickly, like what the idea is, and then why I came up with the idea.
Okay.
Excuse me. So the idea is, it is in many ways, it's a fantasy story that is an homage and a love letter to video games. So this is basically born of the question, you know, imagine you're playing a game like Diablo or something, and you're the barbarian, and you're going through an undead crypt, and you're just stomping skeletons left and right, and you're grabbing their loot, and you're moving on to the next level, you know.
Mhm.
But what if those skeletons were just minding their own business? Like, what if they were just living their life? Maybe they were happy together. Maybe they had a good thing going, you know, down there. And this barbarian comes in and just murders everything,
Mhm.
and then murders everything except for one little tiny little individual, and then he leaves. Well, that's the story of Conan. You know what I mean? Like that,
Right.
like Conan was that little kid, and like you have almost at no point, like you have to ask yourself, like this little character in this case is a skeleton. After that happens to you, like doesn't he have no choice but to try to stop this guy from doing this elsewhere? So
Mhm.
that's not the literal story of Quiet Level 1, but that's where the idea came from. Is
Okay.
what if things were flipped on their head? The story of Quiet Level 1 is the story of the Tree of Worlds, which is kind of like a Mario Galaxy, like it's like Yggdrasil, the world tree from Norse mythology,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
every level of the tree is its own like Mario world with its own, you know,
Got it.
and environments and all these things. And level 1 is where we start our story, and that's the labyrinth. Speaking of labyrinth, that's the labyrinth under the ground, and that is where the breach has occurred. There is this barbarian character who has entered the labyrinth from somewhere else, not from somewhere else on the tree, like just from a different like reality.
Yeah.
And he starts immediately wreaking havoc. And his ultimate goal is to escape the labyrinth and reach the surface, climb the world tree, and chop it down. So with every action, there's an equal reaction. So when he enters the world, this is when Quiet enters the world. By all measures, Quiet is completely outmatched. They're small. They're not a fighter. They're a lover. And this big, unstoppable barbarian is just that. He's unstoppable, and he's on a killing spree. And in his mind, Quiet is an undead monstrosity. And so this is basically the setup of Quiet Level 1. It's one little skeleton, a little level 1 skeleton. It's one level 100 barbarian who just keeps getting stronger, and the Tree of Worlds. And basically, like, and then it's basically just go, you know, stop this barbarian. So, and then the reason I'm doing this is because, as lucky as I've been to work on such amazing things as Skyrim and Fallout and Marvel Anatomy, you know, what I've really discovered is that these things don't belong to me. You know, they belong to, ultimately, you know, as much as we love these titles, and I love these titles, they do belong to corporate shareholders and all that, you know, and
Right.
beautiful art can be made from them. But it you know, as a creator, I've spent the last 20 years trying to do a good job as I possibly can on these titles. And I feel like I've put in the work, and now I want to do something for myself, and I want to move around them. And so I'm taking this project to Kickstarter because I feel like that's where I can find my people, the people who want to support me, who want to support the story,
Yeah.
and want to bring this into the world, because I do feel very strongly, pardon me, I do feel very strongly that this is going to be great. I'm really,
Yeah.
really excited about it. And the Kickstarter is coming together very well, but I just can't wait to bring it to people, bring it to all y'all. So
When does the Kickstarter go live?
in about 2 months from now. So
Okay.
I'm aiming for either June 18th or June 25th. Those are each Tuesdays, late in the month of June. That's our plan. So right now I'm just doing all the things. I'm creating all the extra art, all the little extra goodies. We're working on the cool little animations. We're working on the animatic. I'm shooting scripts. I have a lot of presence on YouTube, so I'm creating some YouTube videos for that content. And I'm just doing outreach to anybody who's interested, and anybody who's interested in world building, anybody who's interested in games, Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy. This is definitely for them. And so I'm trying to do my best to just like reach out and connect with people and see who wants in.
Yeah. I mean, look, I we got a chance to talk about it a little bit when we met at AwesomeCon. And my actual introduction to you and your work, I guess technically would have been through Fallout and or Skyrim. But I would say really it came from your presence on YouTube with what you were doing with the Marvel Anatomy videos
Right.
in that space. I think the first video I watched was the one on Storm. And just really well put together, extremely informative and very interesting, because just look, as a longtime fan of those characters and that content, this was a context in which I had never seen them before. And I was talking to my friend Jose, who we were just talking about before the show started, and he goes, well, you got to go over and you got to talk to Jonah. Okay, I'm gonna go talk to Jonah, because that's how a lot of this happens for us. We meet people who know people, and they say go talk to that person.
Of course.
And and talking about Quiet, I think one of the things that stuck out to me the most, and this was a little bit of conversation that we had off camera, was about the fact that Quiet doesn't speak. We were talking about autism and how we do something for Autism Month every year. We sell shirts and donate money and that kind of thing. And you brought that up and told me how the character seemed to be resonating with that community. Can you talk to me a little bit about that part of Quiet for me, please?
Certainly. There's an element of Quiet that I try to, in my mind, Quiet is like an every person. I often refer to Quiet as he, but he's kind of he in my mind, but really Quiet is like a they, and just like, because Quiet is a skeleton, like Quiet doesn't, it has no need. So, and Quiet is kind of looks like kind of like a little kid, kind of, but they're kind of ageless as well. And I think the element of removing their voice, it started off as a bit of like an aesthetic necessity, kind of like with regards to like not having a lower jaw and everything. And I was like, well, it's a cartoon, they can still talk. And then I just kind of fell in love with the idea of them not talking and that actually being a feature of their character. And there's something about that I think is very resonant, like for a lot of people, because I think a lot of people, as the years pass you by and you get older and all that, you realize just how big this world is, just how small you are. And, you realize like in some ways you're not as powerful as you kind of hoped. And I think the shorthand of it is like, sometimes you just feel voiceless, and you feel like you don't matter. And that's a very common feeling, for a lot of people. And I think there was something about that really spoke to me, and that was resonating with me,
Yeah.
And and a voiceless main character is something you almost never see. But in the
Yeah.
medium of comics, you have this potential to still convey a great deal of emotion in a character without words, and especially in a fantasy story, like there's not that much importance to be said, for someone to just be like, seek ye the sword of, Vanda or whatever, like it's
Right.
all fantasy kind of gobbledygook. And so wouldn't it be more effective if the main character took everything in silence, and maybe sometimes it was a happy silence, sometimes it was a sad silence. But yes, but so then I was reached out to by some individuals, one particular individual who identified as autistic, and they said, I got to tell you, this whole thing really feels so resonant, like for me as an autistic individual, because for them, there's an added complexity to social interaction,
Yeah.
and there's oftentimes a frustrating inability to get the words out,
Yeah.
that people that people expect from you, and so and that's an endlessly frustrating thing, I think. And so I think that I really am looking forward to like kind of connecting more with that idea, and actually like reaching out to people and really get more into that kind of frustration and the ways it can be handled or not handled. So incidentally, like if anyone out there is listening even right now, and somebody who might be on the spectrum or whatever, like, and you have any thoughts about this at all, please hit me up, because like
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in reaching out and listening to the human experience, because again, as I mentioned earlier, you can make anything in fantasy, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything unless it really talks to people. And so,
I agree.
I believe in quiet, but for me, quiet quiet should matter, because otherwise I shouldn't spend my time making quiet, and I have to say that the couple people who identify as autistic who have approached me via social media or what have you, and have expressed to me that they feel already connected to quiet from the few panels that they've seen on Instagram or whatever, that means a lot more to me than when somebody says, "Oh, I love your character, they're so cute," you
Right.
know.
Right.
And of
Yeah.
course,
Mhm.
the hook is that they're cute, right?
Sure.
That's the hook. But I really want to pump as much humanity into that silence expression, into that face, because it seems like you can't do a lot expression wise with just a skeleton, but you can do a lot. And so I'm really excited about conveying that humanity in ways that are kind of unorthodox, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited about the prospects for something like this idea. Just as a whole, is the is the plan for this? Is this going to be a comic book? What are we working towards
Mm.
with this Kickstarter? Are we novelization? What's the goal with the Kickstarter? Not maybe like the end all be all end goal, but like
Of
where do
course.
you want to get with the Kickstarter?
Great question. This Kickstarter will be for a graphic novel.
Okay.
I'm estimating at the moment that the graphic novel will be around 200 pages.
Woo.
I'm very well into it at this point.
Okay.
But it'll be about 200 pages long, and it's going to chronicle like the kind of large, very large kind of first chunk of the story that I want to tell. It's a
Okay.
story that can be, that has a great potential, just by the fact of it being called Quiet Level 1. The inherent promise is that we are going places, right? Like
Right.
this is a story that is starting at level 1 and going. But even though it's only the beginning in that respect, this graphic novel that I want to deliver, I really want to also feel like a good standalone, thick, hearty piece of just beautiful art and writing and all that, as good as I can make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the goal.
What kind of I know I've seen some posts. I know you're planning some goodies for people who jump into the Kickstarter and join. Can you share any of some of what those might be for people who jump in and back you?
Absolutely. So the graphic novel will come in digital format, soft cover,
Mhm.
but there will be an exclusive hardcover format, like in the Kickstarter itself, and that
Okay.
will be exclusive to the Kickstarter. So while the book will certainly be sold afterwards, you will
Mhm.
never be able to secure this particular hardcover. I'm going to personally ensure that it's amazing, because I'll be, it's important. It's going to be the cover of my whole dream, right? So I've got big plans for that. There's also going to be add-ons as well. There's going to be posters and prints. There's going to be a little bookmark with the character named the narrator worm. There's going to be a world map, which is a map of the world tree itself. I'm hoping to include a map of the labyrinth, but we'll see how time crunch goes. There might be, I'm looking at potentially some alternate variation covers as well. And then on the kind of the further end of things, I don't know how well you can see this, but I have this little figurine of Quiet.
Hey.
Let's see if I can get to focus.
Oh.
So I sculpted this myself. I had one of these. I was giving away one of these at AwesomeCon, actually.
Yeah.
But I had sculpted this myself on the computer, and then I got it made by the Ember Forge, which is a place in Greece, and they just do beautiful work. So, this looks like it's pewter or whatever. It's not. It's heavier than that. It's more quality.
Really?
It's like got a really nice weight to it. So I'm really excited about that. And then we're going to have, what are the last two things? I'm forgetting one of them. But then the other, I am gonna have a grand prize of the villain's axe as a replica.
Wow. Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
I have a great guy named Bill Duran at Punish Props out in Seattle, and they just do. He and his wife, they have their YouTube channel is 750,000 strong, and I've hung out with this guy, and he's a great dude, and he's gonna do it and do a whole YouTube video out of it and all that.
That's amazing.
It's gonna be so fun. It's gonna be so fun.
I like that 100%. I do want to talk about some of your other work.
Yeah.
I think this piece probably stood out to me the most from your website. I just like it. It's kind of hard to see the detail in the gold in it, but
yes,
I think what I want to talk about is, look, we meet a lot of artists. We know a lot of artists. And when you do conventions as often as we do, you see a lot of things. And while I do know other artists who work in, contrast, black, white, and so forth, your specific use of black and white and contrast and subtle hints of gold, I find more depth in what I see in your work than I usually see, I feel like, in other people's work.
Thank you.
We talked a little bit earlier about my daughter. This is my daughter. One of my favorite pieces of art I've ever picked up at a con is Arachne, picked up a couple years ago, has not left her wall ever.
Love that.
Yeah. Can you talk to me about what it is about working in just this color palette that is so appealing to you?
Yeah, absolutely. There's something very elegant, and clean about black and white. And if you can add a little bit of gold in there, it just adds that kind of luxe quality where it's like, remember, this is not just ink. This is like something, grander and more beautiful, and so being spare with the gold, it makes it feel like you're putting jewelry on your art a little bit,
Sure.
And so I definitely derive, like, I love the strong, I think my favorite color, it's not really color, but I think my favorite color is black, because you can do so much with it. It's such a dramatic thing, especially when you put it against a stark white. So you can have in a picture like the one you have on screen, which is called Writhe. What I love about this piece in particular is I kind of set out, and the reason I say I love my work is just because sometimes you got to be really proud of particular elements, and particular pieces that you make are plateau breaking. And for me, this was one of those where I really thought beforehand about the composition and about how fundamentally it was going to be a piece about black and white, and the snakes themselves were going to create movement. This is why it's called Writhe. And so taking that and then adding just some very subtle darker, some light grays in there for shading, and leaving it very, very stark, to me gave a feeling of, she's marble, she's like this like alabaster like pristine perfection. And I think that, Medusa doesn't get called perfect very much, right? Like that's her whole thing. Is like, oh, she's so ugly that she turns men to stone. I don't believe that, I don't believe that. So anyway, it was in a case like this, I was really trying to kind of restore. And also, by the way, the story of Medusa is so tragic and very unfair to her.
Very sad,
very unfair to her. And so this was my kind of opportunity to try to restore some dignity, to her. So by showing her in a position of power, and beauty, and kind of elevating her using that kind of marble statue aesthetic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I appreciate, the black and white, the differences in depth, the subtlety, and the changes in, the lightness of kinds of your grays on that, but also that, when you think about some of the most famous pieces of artwork in terms of at least statues, they're marble. They're one color, more or less, right? And the artwork like this of yours draws that same, I feel like, kind of that eye in the same way of that. So I just, again, I see a lot of artwork. This is very different. Still black and white, right? Look at Sin. He's having a moment.
Yeah, buddy.
You know, on his chest. Look at him. Look at him. He can't even. For the Attack on Titan fans, for the anime, are you an anime fan yourself?
Yes and no. I'm not. I have not kept up with anime in recent years. It fed me, and it fed my soul as a young artist, and as a teenager especially. And I had a moment with anime, the same moment that I had with fantasy actually, which is that years ago I decided that there was so much fluff out there that I was like, nah, like I think I gotta lay it down. And I stopped reading fantasy for a while, and I stopped watching anime for a while. And then I think Game of Thrones got me, the Song of Ice and Fire series got me back onto reading fiction again.
Okay.
And I haven't yet. No one has held my hand and sat down with me and watched some of the more amazing anime that's come out in the last 15 years. And so I just haven't done it. And so do I love anime? Hell yes, I love anime. And it is completely changed the direction of my career. But I'm not as caught up these days as I used to be.
It's okay. That's fair. Let's talk about this.
Skyrim.
I mean, again, I'm gonna tell you that the memes around the striking of this character just kind of tossing, like hitting characters and them flying through the air is probably what a lot of people recognize him for. But there's such detail and nuance in the design of this character. And
thank you.
I saw a post that said that you based part of the design of this character on your own father. Is that true?
It's correct. Yes.
Oh, sweet.
Wow.
Does he know that? Like, would there have been like a?
He knows
about that.
He knows.
Okay.
He definitely. I think he's proud.
Yeah.
My dad doesn't play video games. He doesn't know anything about video games, so I don't think he like fundamentally like totally gets it. But I think he gets a thrill out of being like suddenly relevant to like people like 30 and under. You know what I mean? Like, so he's like, cool. Like, this is a cool thing. But yeah, his face, the giant's face looks like my dad. My dad is not a tall man. So not a very imposing man, but the face is definitely his.
Got it.
So yeah. With these guys and with a lot of the things I create for games and everything, I really try to get across a sense of reality. And as you said, complex. A lot of reality comes across as complexity. An unexpected complexity. And so when you can add that to your work, sometimes you're just adding pointless detail, but oftentimes you're adding on layers of real world wear and tear and all that really read is like, oh, I get it. This thing was around before I booted up the game. It was already living here,
right.
Like, I just found it,
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that it's important that, we've talked a lot of times on this show about how much I love a really good fight scene. But part of the reason why I love a really good fight scene is because fight choreography tells a story from the beginning of the fight to the end of the fight and how you get from one place to another. And so like a piece like this for me is like there's a story that exists here. There's a skull, right, that is hanging around his waist. This is most likely a character. Like, I can come up with my own story around how that skull ended up there. You know what I mean? And so just adding something like that allows the player, the viewer, the person from the outside looking in to kind of to feel that world, that again, that it's lived in, that something happened prior to us getting there, and that there's a history, not just to the place, but to the characters. And for that to ring through in the design, again, I think is something that is special, and that is a talent that comes from somewhere that not everybody can pull from, even if they're really artistically talented. That place that you come from, of like, I went to school and I studied other things besides that. When you talk about building worlds and how those things are important, when I see stuff like this, it makes me more excited for what you'll do with something like Quiet, if that makes sense. Right? So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you say, like the skull around his waist, that's a troll skull.
Right.
And, you know, in my mind, I'm like, this troll was obviously a bother. This troll was trying to, like,
oh yeah,
you know, like kill a baby mammoth or something like that, you know, like, and basically, you know, that troll skull is a warning to other trolls. And it's like, you know, so you're immediately building on the lore and mythology of a place, you know. And then you think about, like, the mammoth. There's a wild mammoth with, you know, 4 big tusks, and then the mammoth that travel with the giants have their tusks are inscribed with symbols.
Yeah.
And you're like, and you immediately, again, you form another connection. You see those things and you go, oh, I get it. Like, that's his, like, livestock. He marked that. Whatever. So, I try to, you know, it's all about world building, you know. And I think with Quiet Level 1, I'm simply afforded even more space to make those connections, because I think you don't even have to be precise, and you don't have to explain everything. You really have to, like, just form enough connections and have respect for your audience, and they will complete it in their mind and be like, oh, I get it. Like, and they'll, and it gives them something to think about, you know, and it gives them a world to hang on to.
This ghoul in particular. You know, look, Ghoul is popular again, right? Fallout as a TV show is like going crazy. I think they just announced today that it is like the second most streamed show on Prime ever.
Yes, true. I saw that too. Yes,
crazy to think about. You know, look, I can look at the face of this ghoul and go, there might be a little bit of quiet in that skull there, you know, a little bit. But this post of yours, you said that you looked at like packaged meat or something in designing this.
I didn't just look at packaged meat. I used pictures of packaged meat in the texture. So you get that kind of translucent look, you know. I was looking, you know, like packaged, like cutlets, steak, lamb chops, like all that stuff. Like it's there. Yeah,
man,
it's there.
Make yourself hungry doing that.
Yeah.
They go right to cooking afterwards.
Right. I don't know. Looking at that, if you get hungry, I don't know if you. I don't know what's wrong with you. You might be a ghoul yourself. We're gonna talk a little bit about Marvel Anatomy, right?
Let me say one more thing about Fallout, just because before I finish. What I'm really excited about is at you know, spoiler alert, but you see a Deathclaw skull at the end of season 1. Not only do you see it, it's the second to last shot of the entire show, and it fills the whole screen. The reason I'm excited about this is because the skull that they're showing seems to be a skull of the Deathclaw from Fallout 4, which I created. But I didn't just create it. This was the thing that I made before I knew I was leaving Bethesda. I made this thing at home because it wasn't on the schedule, and they didn't give it to me during the work day. So I made it at home, and then I brought it into Todd, and I was like, I made the Deathclaw. Can I finish it here at work? And he was like, hell yeah, you can.
Yeah.
And so what I'm so thrilled about with regards to Fallout is that they broadcasted already, and the producers have confirmed that Deathclaws are in season 2. They want to give them room to breathe, and they want to, like, not just have them be like a creature, but like be a creature with a capital, you know, like capital C. And what's exciting about that is that if they keep my Fallout 4 design, that means that is my Deathclaw. Like,
that's right. That's right. Listen. So we all need to make sure we push for that, because it should be your Deathclaw. I mean, I just think that's That's what it should be.
I mean, I spent 7 years as a creature designer there.
Yeah.
The Death Claw is one of the last things I made, and it's supposed to be a genetically like perfect hybrid. I worked so hard to make it the best thing I've ever made. It's my final exam in 3D creature design. So if they think they can improve it, okay.
I don't think they're gonna try to. I don't think they'll think they can. As a matter of fact, I don't think Todd will think that I actually watched an interview with Todd today. And just there was an interview on Kind of Funny that he did today. And it just sounds to me like everyone who is creating the show, they are all fans of the games and the stuff that's in the games, and they don't want to change. I mean, if they have to make it work, they will, but I don't think they will. I think they leave it. I have to say
they have been very, very close to the games so far, and I have to say it makes me feel very like respected. Not me personally, like, but as a member of that team, I was like, wow, like this is actually really good, and like you guys, you make it look like the game, and they really, I feel like they get the soul of what Fallout is.
I agree.
Dig it.
So anyway, that's all I had to say about that.
Nope. Listen, totally important. I'm excited too. Again, I don't want to hold you too much longer, but I do want to, again, show off some of this stuff.
Of course.
So cool.
Again, look, if you guys haven't checked out Marvel Anatomy, I know that a lot of our viewers are gamers. They play Skyrim, they play Fallout, but I think that there are probably more of them that are comic book people. And if they weren't, the MCU made them, right? So, and I think that the MCU in a weird way helps carve a space for something like this to exist, because now we feel like we have seen these characters exist in a form of reality that we can actually, like, in our minds, we go, oh, okay, now we really start thinking about how that physiology works, or at least the mainstream public does. I think as comic book like readers growing up, you kind of already are in that space. But to see, work like this, where you're just kind of giving that detail, kind of got to harp on this with Deadpool and Wolverine coming out, soon. Again, I just think that the level of detail and the work is just so well done. So I'll go through a couple of more pictures, but if you wouldn't mind just giving a little bit of that behind the scenes of like what it was like to create some of these pieces and some of the work that went into it. And I highly recommend everybody shoot over to the YouTube channel and watch all of the videos that Jonah's put up about this, because they're all incredible. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind giving us a little bit of that background information on what it's like to create some of this stuff.
Yeah, of course. I was very lucky to get the call to work on this. Something that's very interesting about this project, that was the reason I kind of took it on, is because there is so much Marvel content, out there. There's so much, and movies and comics and covers and paintings and all these things. It's very hard to make your mark and to make an impression, stand out, unless you have like a long and storied career, where you carried on some major plot lines and everything. And here I am, just coming from games and everything like that. And so but it incorporated some of my skills, which is like anatomy and physiology. Making creatures for video games and for making monsters that don't exist, you spend a lot of time looking at human bodies and combining them with animal bodies. And so it just kind of made sense to me. And I realized when I was approached by this project that if I did this, it was a unique combination of skills that I felt that I had, and that I would be doing something that no one had actually ever done before. I mean, it's been done before for there's a DC anatomy book that came out before this. But for Marvel, this was an untouched territory. And when you're visually illustrating like a manuscript, you are inherently creating visual canon. By creating visuals, you're bringing up even more questions or even more answers. And so I just felt like, wow, this is an unprecedented opportunity for Jonah Lobe to leave an impact on Marvel rather than Marvel leave an impact on Jonah Lobe. And like that will never happen again. And so I just had to go in, full swing and just like basically just give it my absolute best, because as far as I was concerned, every one of the characters in this book is somebody's favorite.
Yeah.
And you have to treat them with respect, and like these are characters that have been around for decades, and they have long stories to tell. And so it really was important to me that I just get them right, and that I just like, when you see Hulk, not only does he look like Hulk physically, but he feels like Hulk, like he feels like the personality of Hulk. And so going through and getting all their personalities first was almost the most important thing, and then after that, make sure you get the right iconic outfit and all that stuff. But so it was a great opportunity, and I really stretched myself, and I've never ever illustrated a book before, but this is a 230-page book. And I think if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't have even dreamed about doing Quiet Level 1.
Really?
Yeah, just because I didn't know I could do it,
Got you. Well, now you can. Do you have a favorite character from the book? Not necessarily a favorite Marvel character, but is there a piece that you did that's in the Marvel Anatomy book that is just your favorite? Maybe you surprised yourself with it or something like that?
Definitely. I mean, it's hard for me to pick because, so many of the superheroes are so different. So many of the illustrations are so different. And as you say, like, you never know which one's going to be like which picture is going to, really break out and be your favorite. I knew Venom was going to be one of my favorites. And I knew, because, as a monster designer, he's one of the best monsters, right?
Yep.
I knew that I would enjoy doing like Groot. That was a foregone conclusion. Yeah. But I think when I did characters like Jocasta, that one in the book, I really went into depth and like did all the little mechanical bits in her body. And then I even came up with this idea that Marvel then approved, which is, Jocasta, who's definitely like a B or C list hero, right?
Definitely, yeah.
She's like just a chrome babe that was invented in the 60s. She's very like Austin Powers or whatever. But they've been upgrading her story as years have gone by. And I wanted to give her, some attention and love. And so I came up with this idea that her hair, this metal hair that she has, is actually not hair. It's just an expanded area for her super brain, basically. And so I went in and I did a cross section of her head and just showed off her, like, basically her super brain in there. And Marvel approved it. And so it was a great opportunity.
Really awesome drawing too. Yeah.
Hey, that's dope.
That's
Marvel was like, you know what? You are right. That is exactly what it is. Approve it. Do it.
Yep. 100%.
I have to say, they were very cool, honestly. Like I think because I was working through a third-party publisher, not directly for them. I don't think Marvel even knew what I was exactly doing with this book. And so every time I showed them a drawing, they were like, oh, shit, okay.
That's cool, right?
Listen, that's it, right?
Yeah.
And so I would do things like I did the scroll skull. Like you can see the scroll skeleton.
It's a cross section. Yeah.
And what I did is I broke the skull into like all these little pieces, like almost like it's been shattered, but it's all held together with cartilage. Yeah. And I was like, that's so that like a scroll can shape change at the bone level, like before even the surface level thing. And the result is like a crazy looking skull. And I said that to Marvel, and they were like, I've been Googling scroll skeletons. What do they look like? Nobody had ever drawn this.
No, yeah.
And so I had this huge opportunity, and I just did it. And then Marvel was like, okay, yeah, it's canon now,
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, in looking through the book, what you do with it makes it make sense. And when you, like you say, canonize it, when you draw it so eloquently and you look at all the little tidbits of information that are around it, and then you can go, oh yeah, I guess that does make sense. And you maybe have wondered, how does that work? Why does that, you know what I mean? Like literally in this piece here, there's it says on it, like, how do Wolverine's claws work? Right. And there's an explanation here for how that happens. And so it isn't just, oh, I'm doing the drawing. There's an entire thought process. And again, it's that art of storytelling with a piece of art that isn't moving, but is still telling a story, which again, I think is just something that speaks to your ability as an artist to do it again, which just makes me more excited for what you'll do with Quiet, which this piece, I love this piece. I just think it's so, again, when you talk about storytelling and having a skeleton and maybe it's inability to emote, right? But there's so much emotion in this piece that it just kind of makes sense. And so that's what I'm like, there's a story that's being told here. You could see this piece and make up an entire story about why this is, but that there's love there and there's care there, and something happened that's bad to someone or to both of them, but they are taking care of each other, one maybe a little more than the other. Like there's just a lot, right, to that piece. So you know, Jonah, again, I'm not gonna keep you.
No worries.
We've kept you already.
Frosty got a new tattoo
Frosty.
idea.
Listen, Frosty loves skeletons, so, and we're gonna see Frosty this weekend. There's gonna be tattoo artists around. I mean, it's supposed to be Star Wars based, but you never know. We could see something happen. I'm sure, Jonah, have you designed a tattoo for somebody before?
Yes, I used to do it more, back in the day when I could earn a few bucks here and there, making some tattoos. Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
I'll be coming up with a lot of great Quiet visuals. So if Quiet is a character that appeals to you, there's gonna be a lot of other like scenarios and images and all that. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be really good.
I like it. I'm gonna ask you a question about this piece. This is the piece we started with when we brought these up.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't noticed it in any other place, but specifically Quiet's abdomen looks like the shape of a spade. Is that actually a thing? Is that on purpose? Or am I just seeing it because I like spades? It's just me.
It's just you. But with that said, I think that the I focused a lot on making the rib cage very round. I kind of got the idea for Quiet, shortly after I had a kid, and then I kind of looked around my house and I saw this little creature, this with like a big belly and a big head, just like wobbling around, and it kind of gave me this idea, so then with regards to it looking like a spade, that wasn't intentional per se, but I think the key in creating something that looks iconic, whether it's a little skeleton or a death claw, is actually simplicity, is trying to keep something very simple and very original. And so even though the death claw has scales and ridges and bone spurs and all these different things, its design can be traced down to very simple confluences of line and shape and form. And so when it comes to something like Quiet's rib cage, I try to come up with a standardized shape that's interesting, that has a little bit of dynamism and everything, and it kind of creates what is essentially a superhero outfit. This is the pattern of Quiet. That's kind of his thing. So you could boil him down to very little. You could take any hero and boil him down to like a couple shapes and colors, and any fan could be like, "That's MODOK." That's whatever. So that's how you make iconic things right there.
I agree. Frosty says adorable. It's true. Rich says amazing work. Jonah, that's also true.
Thank you guys.
Listen, we're gonna do this again. Jokes, if you would please get Jonah's links, get the link tree back up. Please get the pre-launch Kickstarter link back up. Everybody, please go follow Jonah. Track what Jonah's doing. Absolutely make sure you go subscribe, follow on the YouTube channel. Again, some really incredible stuff there as well. Look, Jonah, you're welcome to stay and hang out with us if you want to talk about things like how achievements and trophies probably should get better, and that kind of stuff. Maybe we're gonna watch the Mufasa trailer. Maybe we're gonna make fun of it. Maybe we'll ignore it altogether. You're welcome to if you want to, but certainly don't have to. I do want to tell you that I appreciate your time. And you hanging out with us here. It's been awesome to have you. Would love to have you again. Maybe we put something together for like right before the Kickstarter launches.
I would love that. That sounds great. Sounds great.
All right.
Yeah, for sure. I would stick around, but I could hear my wife just got home and we're making dinner. So,
I gotta go make dinner and tell them all we said hi, even though they don't know who we are. Maybe one day they will.
I will indeed. Actually,
Right.
I think they saw your interview of me on AslamCon at on my Instagram.
Okay.
And even my mother-in-law was like, "Those gentlemen were so nice. That was a really good interview." And I was like, "Yeah, voting stacks."
Well, then tell her thank you. I
will.
appreciate that.
I will. Thank you.
Look,
you,
Andrew said work kept him late. Sorry he's late, but hopefully we are well. Jonah,
here
thank you so
now.
much for hanging out with us.
Much appreciated.
Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Jonah.
Appreciate it. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thanks. Take care. Thank you so much.
You as well.
Absolutely. Do the same. Enjoy dinner.
Bye.
Bye. That was really cool.
Absolutely.
Very much so.
Very great to have that
Super
conversation with Jonah and
Yeah.
get a little insight into Fallout and Skyrim and the creative process and so forth. Now it's time to put you guys on the spot. I gave homework probably 2 weeks ago.
Disgusting.
Not just to you all. Is that disgusting? What, homework?
Homework.
It's only disgusting if you didn't do it. Frosty says, "Yep, I'm obsessed with that comic now. I'm telling you, Frosty, the artwork. Look, I'm gonna tell you what. Go to his Substack. That gives you a lot of information about Quiet Level 1, but go to his website. The artwork there, it's incredible. There's just some really, really awesome stuff there. Look, we discussed that maybe achievements and trophies need to kind of take a step up. Would you all agree with that?
Yes.
Think so.
100%.
And you have some ideas?
Yeah.
I got a couple.
Who would like to go first? And listen, chat, feel free to chime in. Who wants to go first?
I'll start it.
Okay. Shoot.
Look at that. I like it. Jokes? We'll go around the horn. Jokes.
So I started with some of the simple stuff first. So obviously, for us, we have gamer scores on our Xbox, which are pretty hefty in number when it comes time for it. You don't necessarily have anything. I'm at 97,000. I know you guys have maybe a smidge higher than what mine is, but things maybe that could go along.
Relax, Frosty.
Very much so. But maybe I know you accomplish things to get said achievements, but maybe vice versa. As you get certain achievements, maybe you get certain in-game unlocks. Maybe things for that diehard person. Like I'll take Final Fantasy Rebirth. Like the sheer amount of hours you're gonna have to put in to beat and get that final trophy is absolutely insane. I feel like maybe something should unlock in the game, even if it's just cosmetic. I feel like a lot of people won't be disappointed, even if it's something cosmetic, just to show that, listen, I did the thing. But something small like that, in-game type of unlocks that you can get from achievements. Not necessarily over the top, but I think it's something easy enough that you can incorporate into the game that maybe doesn't have to take away from you doing the other things as you're trying to keep the game going.
Sin?
I don't know why you muted.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you, but
I muted myself the other way. Just we'll talk afterwards. But yes, I'm with you. Give me. I remember when they first started talking about achievements, they were talking about things like that, where you get an achievement and you would get like stuff for your avatar or something like that. I would love to revisit that. And yes, give me a skin for getting a tough achievement. I would be okay with that. I would, especially if it's a good looking skin, you know what I mean, or just something you could put on, to show everybody that I got that achievement, I unlocked that skin. That's one of them for me.
Is that? I mean, look. What's my job? Poke holes, bro. Is that different from, like, let's take Spider-Man, for instance, right? The trophy list for Spider-Man being what it is. But as you play and do certain things in the game anyway, you open up skins, right? So if it's a game where you're already like opening up skins for doing stuff in game and those things aren't tied to an achievement or a trophy, would you still want that? Should there be something else that you can only get if you hit this particular achievement, or are we talking like you have to? I'm asking that because I'm with the idea. There was a time when Microsoft was doing that, like when you would get certain achievements in a game and they would give you like clothes for your avatar or like a gamer picture or whatever to put up. We're talking like 360, like
when they first introduced
like that.
achievements.
Well, it wasn't there originally. It came later, and I know at some point there was talk of like being able to take your points and put them towards something or earn, and there is a little bit of that because they have this, like, at least Microsoft with Xbox has this whole rewards thing, which is really more tied to Bing than it is to games. But if you play a certain number of games throughout the week, they're going to give you 275 points. And, if you play a game for 15 minutes, they're going to give you 10 points. And if you get an achievement and it's a game that specifically is in Game Pass, they're going to give you 3 points. And, you can earn these points, and then you can use those points to actually get real world stuff, right? You can spend those points to get Game Pass or, entries into sweepstakes and whatever, like things like that. So there's a little bit of that, but it's not specifically tied to achievements. I feel like, at least on the achievement side, Xbox needs to do a better job. They need to kind of take a page from where PlayStation is, where like a platinum trophy feels special because platinum trophy means you completed it all. Like getting 100% of the achievements on an Xbox title, you did get it all, but it doesn't feel like you get a thing for doing that. You know what I mean? There's no like, oh, you completed it all here. You know what I'm saying? Like, here's a thing or whatever, where at least on the PlayStation side, as you play, when you get that final achievement, that final trophy, your platinum status, like, it just feels like even though they're not giving you anything, it just feels more important. You know what I'm saying? For some reason. And I do feel like they need to do something along those lines. Jokes, do you have any other ideas around that or around any of it?
Definitely having, I know it's with Xbox specifically, as you get your achievements, the ones, I know there's ones that they call like diamonds. Like, I don't think they don't focus on it the way that they did ages ago for it, but you get like a special, like the chime will come up, but with certain achievements, when you get it, it's like a little extra that you get on it when you get those
what that
achievements.
is those are achievements that you got, that there's only a certain percentage of people that have hit that achievement, right? So you're in the top 1%, right, of all people who got that achievement. Here's the thing. As cool as that is, if you're playing it on the first day and you're one of the first people to play the game, like, just doing the ones that are like, as you play through the story, you automatically get those achievements. Like, you're gonna get ones that pops. Like, you're gonna get that.
I'm gonna tell you what's crazy about that, Gage. When you go back and play a game, like, this older game, I'm finally getting around to it, and you're going through the story and unlocking those type of achievements. Like, nobody's played this. Like, nobody's playing this.
Well, clearly, because you didn't either. Yeah. Like, you're going back and you're just now doing it, right?
And some things that could be like modes people don't play. Because honestly, I'll use like Destiny as an example. If you go look at the achievements for it, only like 3% of people have actually completed the very first raid. And Destiny 2 now has been out for ages, and only like 3% have completed the first raid.
Right. I mean, again, like, I do feel like they should not have achievements that eventually can't be achieved. I don't think there should be anything you can miss. And I don't want to say there shouldn't be anything that's tied to multiplayer, just because I hate multiplayer most of the time. I don't mind it, but like, if it's one of those things where you can't do it if you don't have other people to play with or something like that, like, I don't like those. I think those should kind of be forced out. But the idea of that, like, kind of diamond level, you're in the top 1% or whatever of people who got this achievement, it's cool if the achievement is something that actually is really difficult to do. You know what I mean? Then you kind of feel special for doing it. But again, that achievement could be a 10-point achievement. It could be a 100-point achievement. It just depends on how many people have done it and what, you know what I mean, and where you are in terms of playing. So it's like it loses some of what should make that special because you realize that it's just like, oh, nobody played this, or you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like there should be something else that you get for maybe doing that. I will tell you this. I think one of the things that they should be doing is I feel like they should be specifically advertising achievements. I feel like as a platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
When a new game is coming out and you're promoting the you know, you're doing the trailer and you post the trailer to your social media and you know, whatever. Like on the day that thing drops, like you should be posting the achievement list. You should be just posting a joint and being like, who's gonna be the first one to get this? And it's not a story level one.
Yeah.
They should be taking some of those more obscure, maybe the ones that are a little more difficult or whatever achievements, and posting it to social media and saying, yo, let me know, comment here when you hit this achievement. You know what I'm saying? First 12 people to post it and get it, then we have something for you, right? Like, you know, they do stuff, giveaways that are like, I don't know, like Xbox does a free code Friday, right? Well, what if they said, you know, the next 10 people to get this achievement and prove it, like show that they just got it, can't be you got it a year ago or whatever it is. Like, even if they did it with an old game, right? Then we're given a code for this, you know what I'm saying, or something like that, right? Like, I just feel like the thing that was really special about achievements when Microsoft came up with them. Hold on. Cuddy said, I hate the games that put no thought into achievements, complete chapter or stage only. Yeah, I mean, especially when they first came out, like you get it'd be six achievements and you
just
completed
beat the
the
game and
whole,
you get the whole thing.
that's it.
Yep.
But that was because they were being forced and they weren't really doing it. I love that what made achievements special was the game within a game, right? It gave you reasons to go and do other things in the game besides just play the story, right? So like, yeah, if you make it to chapter 5, you're gonna get an achievement for getting to chapter 5. But if along the way you go and do this side quest, or you collect these things, or you know, go to the highest point on the map, you know what I mean, or whatever, and it gives you reasons to go do something else within the world. But I feel like there are a lot of people who put in a game and they play a game and they never even look at the achievements. I just feel like they're not prominent enough, right? Like they never even look at the achievements. So yeah, when they do something and it pops, sure,
I
whatever.
haven't looked at them in God knows how long.
Right. It's like,
I'm so lost interest in them.
what difference does it really make? But they're there and they require them, and so they keep putting them in, you know what I mean, to games. But I just feel like they need to do something to make it seem like there's a reason to go after
somehow. Yeah.
Right. And there is a part of me that feels like maybe there should be some platform specific achievements / trophies, right? That, like, I know it's easier across the board to just say, well, there's 25 achievements in this game and they're the same regardless of whether you play on PC. You know, they have Steam achievements, whether you're playing on Steam, whether you play on PlayStation, whether you play on Xbox, the achievements are the same. But if there was something that was just like, nah, if you're playing here, we as the platform holder are going to give you something for doing, you know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, so if you complete the game and you complete the game on our platform, we're going to give you something specific to our platform. We are going to reward you for playing on our platform. I do think that it almost needs to be another reason to play on one platform versus another, right? Like as we're kind of moving to this more agnostic play area where like the games are the same, they work basically the same way. You want them to have the same 60 frames and 4K and HDR and ray tracing and all those things are the same. So it really doesn't matter whether you're playing on PlayStation or you're playing on Xbox, right? It really doesn't matter which one of those you choose, whichever one you have, you're going to get the same experience. That's cool. But what do I get for choosing a platform? Right. And as it seems like we're moving more and more towards a future where exclusivity, at least for consoles, is going away, right? Because Sony is going to continue to at least put their stuff on PC, right? And Microsoft might just put their stuff on everything. Dog, if it moves, if it got a screen and you can connect a controller or touch the screen,
put it there.
We gonna be on there, right? Like Microsoft dominated PlayStation's charts last month, right? So again, kind of crazy. I feel like you do have a thing that is built into your system that, yeah, there is a 1-for-1, but you can take advantage of it and give some level of incentive, or at least give something to the people who have chosen your platform. Right? If you're saying no, look, it's great if games can be played everywhere and it doesn't really matter where you play, sure. But don't you make more money if I buy it on your platform as opposed to if I buy it and play it somewhere else? Like even if I'm playing Sea of Thieves or something like that on PlayStation is still taking a cut of that money. So don't you make more money if I'm playing that game on your platform? So shouldn't you give me something for playing that game on your platform? You know what I mean? Like, shouldn't there be some incentive to say, like, especially if you're a person like we live in a place where like we're fortunate enough that we have multiple platforms to play on, right? So something is coming out for both, like something other than the controller, because I feel like right now one of the biggest things that makes a person choose where they're going to play if they have both is which controller they prefer.
Definitely with me. Definitely.
It used to be, now I'm just going to play where my friends are, but it depends on the kind of game. But I'm always going to pick wherever I can use an Xbox controller because it's a better controller in my palms. So that's where I'm going to go. I just feel like, give me something. So what would you want, Jokes? If it was going to be something, and again, we're not necessarily talking about something that they give you in the game, right? Because maybe it's not about that game specific. What up, K Dizzle? Maybe it is you're playing. You don't play Grand Theft. Let me think about something you play. Super Deformed Gundam Battle something. You play that. You're playing on Xbox instead of playing on PlayStation, and you get all the achievements. And they're going to give you something, but it is not something for that game. Because here's why. You already played the game. You're done with it. You beat it. It's over. Maybe you're not going back to it. You're ready to uninstall. Why? Because there's not enough hard drive space on these joints anymore. So when you get done, that's what Jonah was saying. Like, I just feel like I need to beat this and uninstall it. Not even, right?
I feel that. Yeah.
So what would you want them to give you?
Give me, like, this is another focus. Like, let's say we put focus back on avatars as well too. You know, make that kind of mean something as well too. But give me, I know, just an example. But like, give me a like a SD Gundam partner. Like, you know, like you get like you have like soccer balls, you have the skateboard and things like that. Maybe give me one that like pops up.
I mean, again, they used to do that.
They used to do those type of
certain
things.
achievements, they would give you stuff like that you could have on your avatar. It's just that your avatar doesn't show up anywhere
right
anymore. So like, I will tell you right now that I wouldn't care about that unless whatever it is that we talked about like last week or the week before, when they're like doing something with meta and they're like, oh, well, nah, like when you're in the metaverse, your avatar is who you are. So you have the joint.
I'm not mad at that.
I'll be mad. I'm
a little early.
Dynamic backgrounds, special dynamic background for doing it. So that way, even though I do a solo game, I earned that background and I can just have it there. Something different that
I can dig that.
Yeah, the people see like, oh, where'd you get that one from? Aha, I got that such and such achievement. They gave it to me. I can do that.
Right. I mean, somebody still has to come to your house to see that.
I was gonna say that was one thing. Like the only thing that would make it like in your own eyes, like I don't want to dive like fully like NFT type stuff, but maybe some of those things are like numbered per se. So if you unlock it, you're gonna get no. Hey, listen, we wanted to try to stay away from physical a little bit. Hey, but listen, if you tell me I can beat the game and then get some type of model kit, like listen, give me a Gundam that's like Xbox branded. Like they do those type of things. Like they have their partnerships with McDonald's. They've done it with 7-Eleven. If you tell me I could beat the Gundam game and I could get one, even if it's one of the small ones, but it's green. It's green. It's not the normal color. I'm good with that. Even
that sounds really expensive.
As was, if it's like one of those,
I have to wonder how hard those achievements are getting ready to become for them to actually physically send you.
But it wouldn't have to be like one of the high end. It would be like one of like the entry grade ones. Like a Sin. Remember when we was at Anime NYC, they gave us when I participated in the building, they gave everybody those entry gate. They're like $10. So I mean, in that grand scheme, hey, listen, you can have them pay shipping and handling. I think Destiny probably does a good job at that kind of already.
The jackets, the medallions, like they got gear,
and you have to pay for it. But you know what? Once you get it, though,
but you can't buy it if you haven't earned it, right? Crazy high 120% completion. Exactly. Like that. I'm not even tripping. I might be down for that. If they was just like, yeah, if you hit such and such achievement in this game or whatever, you now have earned the ability to buy this thing, right? Like if you love the game that much that you did this, we got merch. You know what I mean? You can't even access this merch.
I wouldn't mind that with the Destiny model. I wouldn't mind that.
Hey, listen, I've already done it. Like I love Gambit, so I did everything possible in Gambit, unlocked and bought the medallion for Gambit. Same thing with Guardian Games. One year they had the tankard, their mug. So wanted to beat it, ordered that junk too.
I mean, I do the same thing in Extra Life.
I do the same thing too. Hey, when that medal showed up, hey, listen, that medal, I was like, hey, this is kind of dope, right?
It had a little weight to it, didn't it?
It had a little weight to it.
I think that would be cool. You know what I mean? Now here's the real question. Does Nintendo need to get involved?
I think Nintendo has other things they need to focus on potentially before getting
like what? Internet.
Like what?
Like the whole online, like online is one of those things, but I think Nintendo has their own. I think they have their own lane, and if they did something like this, Nintendo fans are going to eat that joint up, especially with like the amiibos.
Bro, can you imagine if Nintendo was like, yeah, if you get all the achievements, now you have the right to buy this amiibo that the only way you can buy it is if you get all these achievements.
Done.
Hey, dog.
Done.
Bruh.
Done.
They'll be like, we got a set of Joy-Cons that are $100, $110. The only way to get them is you got to get all the achievements in Splatoon, or whatever. Or you have to participate in the next online challenge of mustard versus ketchup or whatever they do in that game. And you have to, and get all the achievements or whatever. And then they're like, yeah, let's go. Kato says, smart move. Set up a trigger when an achievement is unlocked. You get a code sent to your email to purchase an exclusive item. Y'all giving the companies free jewelry. Absolutely. I'm just saying, because then you can price it out high enough that you're only making it when somebody went, you know what I mean? Somebody has to get it.
And that's how it is.
It's made once. You can do it as a 1-off or a 10-off or 100, you know what I'm saying? Off, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. So you price it high enough. If you really want it, you're going to buy it. You know what I mean? And then you're gonna show it off. And if you go and show it, like you're gonna post it on social media, you're giving them, you paid them to advertise the joint. Like you're gonna pay for it, wait for the shipping, film an unboxing, put the jacket on, show the medallion or whatever. You shooting reels, doing shorts, you know what I'm saying? Make it like, and just tagging them all day. You on X and Twitter, dog. You on the old joint and the new joint, just giving them like, dog, just you basically make a merch store that only sells you stuff that you can only get if you're in the quote unquote upper echelon. You know what I'm saying? Of whatever it is. And like you can make it limited time. Like if you hit this achievement within
That's
this
literally
time
how
frame,
Destiny is. You only get it.
And that's on a game like that. You're trying to keep people in the system. It's a game as a service. You want people playing and you keep your numbers up. It makes sense. K-Dog said they set the minimum knowing you have to put in the hours, 175 to 100, whatever they said is free pro. Absolutely. Absolutely, bro. Like that's just like, it just like, bro, achievements need to evolve. Trophies need to evolve. Nintendo needs to get involved, right? Steam does it. Like Nintendo needs to get involved, bro. If they just give me, like, people want something real, and I'm telling they will pay for it.
They will.
Very much so.
They will.
They'll pay for it, and just, bro, it could be a T-shirt.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It'd be like, all right,
your
how much
gamer
that
tags on
T-shirt?
it.
$45. I'm in. You know what I'm saying? It's a Fruit of the Loom gilded joint with just the logo printed on the front of the joint.
Fruit of the Loom with the logo.
$45, dog. Fruit of the Loom, no tag in the back, no nothing. Just
75 hours of hard work.
It's at least tagless, so you don't got to worry about it tagging on the back.
And you still gonna pay
That's
for
on
it,
us.
and you're gonna pay
That's
the
on
shipping. You know what I'm saying?
Not
Like they
much
just
for you guys.
right. I mean, I still think it'll be smart. I think it'll work, and I think it's again because again, like, and then if you do that, aren't you gonna do what I was talking about? Aren't you gonna advertise achievements? Aren't you gonna say, yo,
yeah,
you need, because there's also money to be made if people get this achievement. There's also money to be made if people are playing the game and buying stuff out of the store in the game so they look cool while they're doing it, or they're trying to upgrade, so they're buying the battle pass. They're buying, so like if you could use achievements, trophies to make every other piece of that thing work. $6 dropship T-shirt with a 3-inch logo, straight up, dog. Straight, that's it.
Real sometimes too.
That's it, bro. They just, like, I'm just saying. I feel like if it was the right gear, if it was the right listen, bro, it could be a one-off Funko Pop. You only getting this Funko Pop. If you hit this achievement, you're gonna pay for the Funko Pop.
You speaking my language right there.
It's an achievement exclusive. It's not a Target exclusive. It's not a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. It's a trophy exclusive. It's a, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I mean, think about it. People wouldn't eat that up. You know what I'm saying? What's wrong, son?
Jokes.
I don't know.
Hey, look, we went along, right? And I was I thought about watching the Mufasa trailer, but I changed my mind because I just don't.
I have no problems with that at all.
I don't have the space. I do want to say this. So, rumors abound that there is a Kingdom Hearts movie in the works by Disney that was originally supposed to be Disney Plus, and now they like, we talking full on theater. Is this a good idea, Jokes? Should they do this?
There's so much potential that they could go so right, but at the same time it could go so wrong. I don't think it's needed. That's a
yes or no, dog. Like, should they do this? What?
I don't think it's needed, but it could be cool.
Sin? You just like, nah, dog.
if they want to pull this off, they're gonna have to dumb it down because the story makes no freaking sense whatsoever. They're gonna have to completely dumb it down, but then the people who are all fans of it are gonna hate it because they dumbed it down.
It's
So
didn't do
either way, it's
Kingdom
a
Hearts
no-win situation.
3.5.72. It didn't do anything from that. Like no.
I mean, if they want to take it to like an anime or animated or something like that, it might could work that way. But
I mean, I'm sure it's gonna be animated.
Then maybe.
I don't imagine I don't listen, bro. If they were even remotely thinking about trying to make it some kind of live action Kingdom Hearts, then no, they
keep it.
wrong.
You can keep that one. You can keep that
live action He-Man joint. No, not at all. Here's what here's. Let me make this clear. I don't love Kingdom Hearts. I wanted to. It sounds perfect. Final Fantasy cross Disney. Sounds perfect. Rich says horrific.
Yep.
I mean, all right, look. Mickey, Donald, Goofy, Sora. Live action, I might as well be M. Night.
Hey, listen though, if we get like Split though, something like a Split, okay.
Do you want to gamble with what we might get?
No, I don't want to gamble. That's what I'm saying.
Jokes, what are you talking about? We might get Split, dog. He's saying that because it would absolutely be Avatar: The Last Airbender. What are you talking about? It would be Dragon Ball Evolution. What are you talking about? Dog?
I'm trying to not compare. I'm trying not to use those.
Nah, dog. Yeah, I don't really have any love for Kingdom Hearts. Like I tried.
I agree.
The last game,
I was so lost. I was so lost in the third one trying to.
Like the story don't even matter to me. It's not this. It's not.
I never got out the beginning of part 3.
That game's boring.
I didn't either.
That was trash. Here's the thing, and I know there are people who love it. So like, try not to be upset because I said it's trash. Because you just have to accept you like trash. Like Oscar loves trash, so it's okay to love trash. Whatever. Here's the thing. I do think the concept of it is brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I think the execution of it has been terrible, and that's the trash. The execution of it is trash. I honestly believe that the people who love it are forcing themselves to love it because you know as well as I do, story is garbage. But the idea in it, the keys, the keyblades, the crossing over of the worlds, like Final Fantasy, Disney, diving into these different places, it's the multiverse. It's literally like they're like traveling the Disney multiverse, different eras, different cartoons, computer animated stuff in Toy Story, and like it's got Hercules, and it's just the concept is brilliant. And what it's missing is Marvel.
I was gonna say,
however, Marvel is doing multiverse. And they're doing it in live action and animation. And because we just got finished talking about Ready Player One yesterday, and like my nostalgia antenna is on 1,000 right now.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little show when I was growing up that came on Saturday mornings based in video games called Captain N, the Game Master. Now, jokes, you might not know this one.
Nope, I do not.
Trying to be funny. Sin, you better know this.
It's on my Plex.
Let me tell you something about Captain N, the Game Master. Captain N, the Game Master was about this boy and his dog. The boy is in the real world playing Nintendo. Something happens. He gets sucked into the TV. And now he's living in the game world. And he is Captain N, the Game Master, right? And he has a squad with him. And his squad is a talking Game Boy.
Oh, I've seen.
It is Mega Man. They beefing. Mother Brain is the main enemy in the joint.
Simon
It's
Belmont.
Simon Belmont. Dog.
Facts, Heather.
His jacket was fly, Heather.
Facts.
And here's what I think. Kingdom Hearts as a TV show with Sora partnered with Mickey, Goofy, and Donald. And in every episode, basically in every episode of Captain N, they were in a different game world. So you would experience these games that were Nintendo games, but in basically every episode, you're in a different one of those worlds. Bro, if they did a Kingdom Hearts show where you have this main cast of characters, and in that 22 to 30 minutes, they end up in this world, which is this week we in Hercules world, and Hercules is the special guest, and they bring in all the different people. They bring and let those villains be the villains, right? And you working to get that Keyblade, like you're building towards this story of finding that final Keyblade, right? Mega Man with his smoke cigarette voice. Hey, bro, no doubt, Andrew. Mega Man was a straight up old man, bro. He sounded like he looked on the cover art from the original game, like just a actual Mega Man, bro.
Right.
Next episode, we're in a new world now, but again, we're traversing these Disney universes, and then every now and again, like 6 episodes in, we don't go to a Disney world. We're in a Final Fantasy world, and we pull in characters from one of the Final Fantasy games, and it's Final Fantasy 9, and you're dealing with those, you know what I'm like. You could actually really build something special. I honestly believe that like you could take people who love Final Fantasy and take people who love Disney, kids who are watching these shows, and you absolutely could have them end up in a Marvel universe of some sort at some point with a guest cameo character. Think about it. Every week, you're introducing a new character from an old movie, right? Or from an old game. And it's something new for you to look forward to every week. Where we going this week? You know what I mean? What we doing this week? Oh, we're going in, we're knocking out, we're saving it, we're getting this much closer to getting to that Keyblade. Give it a little bit of that, like Pirates of Dark Water. God, that was a show. Pirates of Dark Water, kind of like we're building towards a thing. We're trying to get, you know what I mean? Like you have that, and it could just consistently be ongoing. And it's not, you're not trying to recreate the games. I think that would be the mistake. You're not trying to tell that specific convoluted
that
story.
needs to stay over there.
You're not trying to recreate the first game, the second game, the second and a half point 12 game, that whatever. You're just taking the concept of what Kingdom Hearts is and the Keyblades, and you have a main villain, but in every episode, you're introducing a new hero to join the team and a new villain from within that world to defeat on your path to that new Keyblade or something that does a new power, right? And that Keyblade does something in that world that evokes that special, you're in the Little Mermaid world, and now you get, everybody can swim, and like it could be
a fire
really dope. I would watch that. I would write that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would watch that. A movie, dog. I don't.
If it's the animated,
in a movie feels like you just and I am an apologist for Spirits Within, Final Fantasy Spirits Within. I like that movie.
Haven't seen it in forever.
Well, guess who gets to pick a movie club joint soon? It's not. I don't know if I'm gonna do that to y'all. Look, we getting out of here. Jokes. Drop the Beacons link. This weekend we will be at Comic Logic for Free Comic Book Day in Ashburn, Virginia. Hanging out. It also happens to be Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. It's also Cinco de Mayo pregame day. Do with that what you will. Marcus said the information was so dope. Love that Fallout content. I'm glad you did, sir. Yeah, so we're gonna be hanging out at Comic Logic for Free Comic Book Day, also Star Wars Day. They have special guests that is Star Wars related. Go to Comic Logic VA at Comic Logic VA on Instagram to check that out. See what's going on there. They actually are also gonna have tattoo artists that are doing some Star Wars Flash there. So we'll be there. If you're there, come hang out with us. We're gonna want to talk to you. Probably. Looking forward to doing that. Next weekend, the 11th, Nerdpocalypse time again, y'all. So get ready to get your nerdy bar crawl on. We will be in the heart of Baltimore at the Power Plant Live, hosting many things, bull riding. I guess we're just hosting drinking, but bull riding, Smash Brothers tournament. There's a lot happening. It's from 3 to 9. And then at 9 o'clock, we open to the general public. So the party doesn't really stop. It just gets bigger. And you're already drunk. So let the good times roll. So that is next weekend. We'll be at Nerdpocalypse. And then June 15th, we have StellarCon in York, Pennsylvania. Again, the stuff is just piling. We're staying busy, staying active, keeping it cranking. Jokes. What's happening Wednesday?
Wednesday, we're going to be recording another episode of the Finisher Podcast. So we'll get that recorded for you guys to have this weekend, because obviously we got a very busy weekend, so we got to get it done a little bit early so that joint will be in front of your face while we are off having fun the Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah, because what's happening this weekend?
We're going to be there while Backlash is happening. And because it is in France, it is smack during the middle of the day. So
here's the thing. I want to know why Backlash is happening in France, but I don't.
It's a business thing. I can make it easy for you. All right.
I want to know why, but I don't want to know here. Y'all can talk about it on Wednesday, and anybody else who wants to know needs to tune into the Finisher. That's where I'm at on that. Sin?
Yes, sir.
2 things. First, what's happening Thursday?
We have reached the finale of Parasite in Thriller Park. So this week, episodes 23 through 24, 9:30 p.m. in the Discord, Thriller Park. So we get to see how it all comes to an end. We'll have a little discussion about afterwards, how we felt about the series as a whole, and I will get that uploaded for all you guys this weekend.
And then you have a job to do.
That I do. And that is stating our top tier patrons. So let's start with Anthony Cunningham, Marcus Houston, Susan Dortch, Tyrone Carson, Meticulous Skin, Alex Lee, Alice Mbe, and Kermit Ferguson. Thank you very much. Truly, truly appreciate it.
Here's the thing. I need y'all help because I feel like Sin is challenging himself to be able to say everyone's names in one breath.
I did that time.
Hold on. No, you didn't. You didn't.
Yeah.
However, we can run it back. However, I want that to get more difficult. Help us get more people in the top tier.
Make my man struggle.
It's gonna be that will stop quick. It'll be flash on the screen. Here's everybody's names.
My man has an inhaler.
Yeah, that's not we don't play with that. We don't play with that.
I want y'all to put my man to work. You hear what I'm saying? Let's get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's add some names to that list, right?
Put up there, but you know he's not. Marcus.
Listen, I'm ready
to play multiplayer. I mean, I said Jokes doesn't play multiplayer.
I saw Sin playing Destiny 2 with someone else. It wasn't you, Jokes.
Nope.
So I
wasn't here when he was playing.
Hey. And that's no excuses. I'm just stating what I saw. That's all I'm saying. I'm just stating what I saw.
We had a squad. We just don't get it in. You know?
Am I gonna download?
No, you're not.
Chris Knight
Are you
was in there.
trying to do to me what we do to you?
I don't know. Maybe I'm not, but you're not gonna download Destiny.
I mean, to be honest with you, probably not. Because my hard drive space is too precious for that bull. Change my name in 17 syllables. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
Hey Dizzle, add all your middle name and initials
Nah,
plus your,
it's
you know what
gonna
I'm
stay
saying,
K
your
Dizzle.
production name. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and have
We're
Hef
gonna make
sign
it
up
work.
and do the,
Have
you know
it
what I'm saying?
have the whole name, and plus afterwards it's gonna say FKA K Dizzle DC afterwards to add that still on to the end of the name.
No, matter of fact, everybody add the word "take a breath" to their middle name in the joint. You know what I'm saying? It'll be Susan take a breath, Dorch. Candace take a breath, Dorch. Ellis take a breath, Mb. And let's just see what happens. Let's just, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Just go in and like modify your names, and let's just, you know what I mean? Let's just see what happens, because I feel like we could try to get him to do this, and maybe we can earn some money for Extra Life. Like, I'm already thinking about, I'm in November right now. I don't know what y'all talking about.
Listen, Marcus already got the one.
AKA Trinidadian G.
All right, Marcus Houston.
And that's it. You know what I mean? Marcus, take a breath. Houston. Look, we greatly appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We had a long show tonight. We had a very special guest. I was very happy to have Jonah on. It's really cool to kind of chop it up with him and get some insight into just what it's like to create for Fallout and for Skyrim and for Marvel and so forth. And so thank y'all for tuning in. We're gonna wrap the show. Jokes, tell the folks what I need them to know.
Remember, y'all, just because you have a well thought out plan doesn't make it a good idea.
With that, we are out. Toodles and loos.
Loading snacks.